Welcome to Sydney. It is Gay Rights Weekend. Interior of our Merton Service Department in Sydney. Full kitchen. We don't really need it because there's so many. This is the town hall, but it's flying a gay flag in honor of the gay weekend here. So, Sydney's Friday afternoon, very busy. And they do have the current theater things. It's beautiful. The Strand, built in 1891. Very top it says a Mcdonald shoemaker. Place. Like there's a stage set up down there. There's Bridge Street in Sydney. The iconic Sydney Opera House. There's the bridge that Mike drove over. Gosh, there's a lot of people. Those are all the places where people eat. Wow. This is the entrance to the Royal commemorating the 200th year of this botanical garden. There's the Opera House. Downtown Sydney. Beautiful city. Bridge. This is Sydney Harbour from this botanical garden view. And that's the city we just walked through, very busy happy hour time.
Opera House behind us.
Mike,
Beautiful day.
in the Opera House.
Got the car returned safely and
Yeah.
whatever, anybody along the way.
This is a free tour that starts here.
A little bit more about the QVB once we're inside, but first let's have a look at what we can see around us. There used to be always an original place for people. This was always an original site for markets. We had our first official horse race. Although you won't find any horses here anymore, it's largely just a place for people to come, chill out, relax and escape. Constructed in 1821. It later burnt down and was reconstructed again in 1868. But they didn't finish it until the year 2000. It took them 130 years to finish. Jails in London were completely overflowing with criminals. So much so that they didn't know where else to put them. During this time, America was going through the American War of Independence, so it meant that they couldn't send them there. So where else? So they thought, hey, what about that place we found? Why don't we just send them there? So on the 26th of January, 1788, the first fleet arrived from Portsmouth, England to lay claim to Sydney. They managed to beat a number of French ships by 4 days. So we could have had a completely different history, and I could be speaking in French right now instead of English. So that's pretty crazy. they thought the land to be completely uninhabited. But in fact, it was inhabited by the Cadigal tribe of Australian native Aboriginals, who had been here for the past 30,000 years before that. So at first there was some curiosity and friendliness, but that soon turned out to outbreaks of disease and violent attacks. So much so that it largely decimated the Australian native Aboriginal population, that they only represent around 1.5% of our population today. So in 1972, convicts represented around 75% of the population. So you can imagine it wasn't very law-abiding society, and they were largely suffering for that. Free settlers started to arrive here in Sydney, and it wasn't until then that they started to prosper by living off the land, farming and things like that. By the 1840s, they stopped sending convicts here altogether. I'm guessing at around 150,000, that was probably just enough, yeah, probably. It wasn't until 1851 that Australia experienced their first number of gold rushes. And it was then that there started to be a lot of... Sydney was starting to be prosperous and Melbourne was starting to be prosperous. So it sparked the debate of who was bigger and better, which still hasn't finished yet, by the way. Definitely not. By 1901, it was then that need to be decided of who was be the capital of Australia, because Australia became a federation under the rule of the Queen. Both cities were both so stubborn. They drew a line in between the two and named that the capital of Australia, Canberra. Has anyone been there?
General McGuire's statue. He's also a governor.
He even had his own favourite architect, Francis Greenway, who was actually sent here as a convict forgery.
St. James Church, also built at the time of the barracks. And that cross was the tallest building in Sydney at the time. The Golden Bucket, it's a water tank.
Anyway, this is an exact replica of a 500-year-old sculpture in Florence and was donated by an Italian artist in...
We'll donate and rub the nose for good luck, and there's a little portion down there that they also rub for good view down Martin Street, Martin Place. Back at Martin Place, it's basically the banks or the big buildings.
The funny thing about November though, we are the only country in the world
number 1 Martin Place. It was a post office back in the day. Now it's been gutted. They wanted it to rival the House of Parliament. This cupola was dismantled in World War II. So in April they have their Anzac Memorial festivities here.
Due to popular demand, they actually made this a permanent exhibition. So it's called Forgotten Songs. Don't worry, there aren't any birds in there.
Also a library. See, outside of the customs house.
The commercial ferries, okay, so commuter ferries. So they are the ones that are yellow and green, and those are the ones that you can use your Opal card with, okay? Wharf number 3 is where you get the ferry to Manly. I definitely would recommend this trip because it's going to cost you $15 there and back.
Go into the rock.
Oldest house here in Sydney, constructed in 1816. But more importantly, it is in this location where we start and finish our nightly rocks tour of unique species. So this one is called a Wollemi pine. About 20 years ago, an amateur botanist was just walking around the Blue Mountains and came across this species of tree. He took some photos, went back to the lab, and we found out there's actually a species that we thought to be extinct by over 2 million years. That's pretty exciting. These days, if any amateur botanists are interested in checking out the original location,
The old buildings were saved. in the 1950s by a public uprising called the Battle of the Rocks. People doing a climb on the bridge.
When it was first constructed, it really didn't have a very fortunate beginning. When they were building it, 16 people died due to most likely safety ropes available at the time. And soon after it was finished, it was still during a time of Great Depression. So after the 7 months after it was completed, 60 people chose it to end their lives by jumping over the top. Whilst it did provide access and boost the workforce.
It's a view of the Opera House from the bridge side. Just finished the free walking tour, which you donate for. Pretty nice tour, a lot of history. Waterfront Cafe looks like it has old sails from a ship. White Rabbit Ale. So, I think it's Campbell House maybe. Seafood platter for 2 with the view. The oysters were super delicious, and so was the barbecue shrimp. We were watching hundreds of people go off this bridge. It costs like $280 to do the full climb. Here's the do-it-yourself bridge climb. That's the road that we drove into the city on. This bridge was dedicated in March 1932. Area known as the Rocks. From the bridge. A big old cruise ship in the way.
Almost made it to the top.
Right. $100 we could get up higher than this. You see the same thing, except 100 feet up above us. The Opera House, designed to look like sails. The Danish architect was chased away after 10 years and never returned.
So here's Elaine walking across the bridge yet again.
Hey!
Doing okay?
Yeah, we walked across the bridge second time. Last was 10 years ago. And you can climb the pylon. It's another $13. That's people doing the bridge climb in the Rocks area of Sydney. Originally it was kind of like the slum area. This is the Saturday market here. It's a little